Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it has been quite some time, but we are back to talk some casting rumors for Marvel Studios' X-Men movie, which of course we know is in development. It's now recently been rumored that Jake Schreier, the director of Thunderbolts, is in talks to direct our MCU X-Men movie, which I think would be great. Obviously, I want to see a Thunderbolts 2, so hopefully he would be able to do that as well. This news isn't great as a sign for Thunderbolts 2, but I guess that depends on what happens in Doomsday. But I think, the way he can handle a team like that, and particularly a team of misfits, and the best part of that movie was the characters and the heart and the relationships between the characters. So if he can bring that to an X-Men movie, I think that would be really spectacular. So that's very exciting for me. We know that they hired a writer long ago, like over a year ago now at this point, maybe. So it's been a while that somebody's been working on this film. And we know that obviously a lot of the Fox X-Men are making their return for Avengers Doomsday and possibly Secret Wars as well. But that's going to be more of a, honoring the past, sort of goodbye closure to that version of the X-Men before we get into the main 616 MCU X-Men. So today we are talking X-Men, some of the casting rumors here, so we're talking about two main sources today, which are Jeff Snyder over at the In Snyder podcast and My Time to Shine Hello, both of which are very, they both have very hit or miss track records. On certain things, they are very, they have great sources and they're very accurate, and other times they are not. So of course we are taking this all with a grain of salt, and it's very interesting to see both of them talking about the same subject and seeing similarities in what they're saying, but then also some major differences as well. So again, take everything with a grain of salt, but we're just talking about this, sort of for fun, because, I doubt they're actually going to be announcing casting for this anytime soon. But let's jump it off with actually one of the ones here that I think is going to end up being true. Nev Campbell has been cast as Polaris. Now, this rumor is a couple days old now at this point. This came from My Time to Shine Hello, who just posted that scoop that Marvel Studios had cast Nev Campbell as Polaris. And so obviously with our current status of the MCU, and again with how the Fox X-Men are coming back in Doomsday, a lot of people kind of assumed, even though Nev Campbell's never played Polaris before and she was never in those Fox X-Men movies, that just because she's in that similar age range that maybe she would play Polaris in Avengers Doomsday as a cameo. But I don't know. I don't think that would be quite as effective. It would be kind of cool. I'd still be down for that. And then people were thinking it's not like she's being cast as Polaris for the new MCU X-Men movie, because if that's the case, she's far too old to fit into the rest of the bunch of the cast there. So I think it's now been said that she's actually voicing the character in X-Men 97 Season 2, which I'm very highly anticipating. Of course, that's going to be coming out next year, I believe. But I'm really looking forward to that. Now, here we have some conflicting reports. So from the In Snyder, again, whenever it says that, we're talking Jeff Snyder, Marvel Studios is reportedly building the team for the X-Men film around Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Professor Charles Xavier. So this is speaking specifically about the castings, that everything's kind of going to be centered around that. But then we have My Time to Shine Hello over here saying, so, about the X-Men, here's what's happening. No new cast will be introduced in the upcoming Avengers films. That's something that people have kind of theorized. I never thought that was a good idea, so this makes me happy, because the focus is on giving closure to the original characters. Casting hasn't started yet because director Jake Schreier hasn't officially signed on. That's why Sadie Sink isn't playing Jean Grey. Remember, Jeff Snyder actually is the one who originally, when Sadie Sink was cast, he was saying that she was going to be Jean Grey. So that's not the case. And I didn't think that would be the case. That said, there are 3 roles Kevin Feige has specific actors, or at least types, in mind for: Xavier, Magneto, and Storm. The names he's considering feel a bit too big to actually land, but you'll see. I'll mention them soon. Aside from those 3, I haven't heard of any other actors being considered yet. So, there's a lot to break down right there. You can see the difference that Jeff Snyder is saying they're building things around Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Professor X. Here it's Professor X, Magneto, and Storm. And it's really interesting to see, again, just like the rumors from these 2 sources, to see like, okay, which characters are actually going to be more prominently featured in this adaptation, and which characters are actually going to be on this version of the team. But what she or they, he, I don't, we don't know much about who My Time to Shine Hello is, but what they mention here that I think we should kind of keep in mind specifically for the rest of this video is the idea that Kevin Feige has casting types or actor types. So some of the actors we're going to talk about today, especially since, you can see earlier in this post, My Time to Shine Hello is saying that they are not casting the X-Men anytime soon, but they just have these actor types in mind. So people going around saying that these rumors are automatically false because they're not actually casting these actors anytime soon and nobody's been cast in the roles, that's not what's being said. It's just that these are the types of actors that Marvel Studios has in mind for the role. So keep that in mind going forward. And I also want to point out down at the bottom this comment saying, so is the Denzel Washington as Magneto rumor true? No. And we'll talk about that more in a bit. Patrick Schwarzenegger. So he was recently spotted in London filming something, which is where Avengers Doomsday is filming. And he has been rumored to be playing Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, in our X-Men reboot for the MCU. But what he's filming in London is separate from Doomsday. As My Time to Shine Hello mentioned, they're not having those new X-Men appear in Doomsday or Secret Wars. But man, I love Patrick Schwarzenegger. I really enjoyed him in Gen V, and he was just fantastic. One of my favorite parts in White Lotus Season 3. So good. And he just has the looks, the charisma, and I just think he deserves it. He's been in Hollywood for so long and is just now finally getting the attention he deserves. I think this would be great. I would really, really love to see him in this role. Scott Summers' Cyclops is a character that needs to be done right in this new X-Men reboot. And I think Patrick Schwarzenegger could really do that well. Previously, we'd heard that Harris Dickinson was rumored for the role. Which I enjoy Harris Dickinson, but I think I much prefer Patrick Schwarzenegger for this character. And going back to Jeff Snyder, he actually put out today a rumored cast for the MCU X-Men, according to a Hollywood insider that has also revealed the Fantastic Four cast. Again, kind of ignoring like the validity of like Jeff Snyder's very hit or miss. Let's pretend this is real, but keep in mind the fact that, this is likely just like actor types that they're looking at for these roles. So Nicholas Galitzine as Angel, Drew Starkey as Iceman, Daisy Edgar Jones as Jean Grey, Patrick Schwarzenegger as Cyclops, and Logan Lerman as Beast. So first of all, I just want to point out the fact that that is the original X-Men team from the comics, which I think is really cool, if they end up going this way. But I'm curious, like, would this be the full X-Men team, or would there be more? Because if this were the case, that would mean no Storm, no Gambit, no Rogue, and I don't think they're going to do that, because it's been pretty heavily rumored that Storm, Gambit, and Rogue particularly are going to be big parts of this MCU X-Men, as well as Kitty Pryde is another character that's been thrown around for these rumors for a while now, as well. But Daisy Edgar Jones, I love. I think she's great. I I feel like I've seen her in a couple different things, but the most memorable recent one was Twisters, where I thought she was great. And so I think her as Jean Grey, it would be really nice casting. And her with Patrick Schwarzenegger, they're similar age range. And I could totally see them being that great X-Men power couple that could really do that great, like, soap opera drama between the two of them that I loved seeing in X-Men 97. Now, Logan Lerman as Beast is an interesting choice. I like Logan Lerman, but I don't know how I feel about Beast being this young and that, like, the same age as the rest of the team. I'll talk about that more in a second. But Drew Starkey as Iceman, I really like. I love Iceman as a character, so if we can get Iceman in this X-Men reboot, I would love that. Drew Starkey, I think, is a great actor. But yeah, I think Logan Lerman is just too young for Beast. I think of Beast as being someone a bit older, sort of like that father figure, because he is very much like, the professor, like he's the smart guy. Back in March, Jeff Snyder, again, the same exact source, was saying that Jesse Plemons was one of the actors being eyed to play Beast in the X-Men reboot. I love this idea, and I really hope this casting ends up being true, because I would love Jesse Plemons being Beast. Him next to a lot of the, at that time, rumored X-Men cast, I didn't love, but him next to this group of cast, like, he's not that much older. He's got, like, an extra 10 to 15 years on most of these actors, but I love that. I think that will be really great. Jesse Plemons, I think, obviously, most of the role would be motion capture and just doing the voice, but I can really see his voice working for this, because I'm just not a fan of the young X-Men, particularly young Beast. So I really like this idea. Now, Nicholas Galitzine as Angel, I don't think I've seen him in anything, but he's always getting fan cast in superhero projects. So to see him actually cast in one would be nice, and especially seeing him here with the blonde hair looks really cool, and to see Angel, done well, I think would be a lot of fun. Margaret Qualley as Rogue, that's not anything that's rumored. That's just been a big fan cast that I really agree with. I think she would be great. I think she's a fantastic actress. Loved her in The Substance, and a lot of other things she's been in. So I'd love that. Here's then where we come to a big sort of a point of debate about casting Magneto and Professor X black actors in those roles. Now, I personally don't have a problem with that, and it makes sense considering that originally Stan Lee wrote these two characters as a metaphor for Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. So I don't have a problem with that. The Denzel Washington rumor, I think Denzel Washington would be great in that role, like acting wise. I don't think he's going to play Magneto though, especially because he's already spoiled the fact that he's in Black Panther 3, and I highly doubt that he's going to be introduced as Magneto in that film. So I don't think he's going to be Magneto. But Colman Domingo's Professor X, that one really sort of just came out of nowhere, either today or the day before. And Colman Domingo, what an actor this guy is. I'd never heard of him until like 2 years ago, but he has been very thoroughly involved in award season the past 2 to 3 years, like getting nominated as best actor at the Oscars 2 to 3 years in a row. It's crazy, but man, he's great. And just watching interviews with him, he's such a lovely person. And again, a damn good actor. So I think he would be great acting wise as Professor X. The one thing here, especially looking at a picture like this, first of all, I mean, it's also just the fact that I'm used to him looking a certain way. So seeing him without hair and being bald is weird. But also, I don't know how I feel about Professor X having a mustache, but I also cannot picture Colman Domingo without the mustache. But it's a very similar thing to like a lot of Lex Luthor castings on TV, like how they did John Cryer on Supergirl and like on Titans and Superman and Lois and all that, have had Lex Luthor with facial hair or a mustache or something, and it just does not work. I think it would be a similar thing here, but again, acting wise, Colman Domingo would be great. Now, interestingly, though, I believe My Time to Shine Hello is the one that put out this report today at the time of recording this video that Kevin Feige wants Daniel Day-Lewis as Magneto, who, of course, he like just came out of retirement from acting, and now he's back. And my God, what a casting this would be! This would be truly fantastic. I would love that so much. Jason Isaacs is not one that's rumored or anything, but it's just a longtime fan cast for the role that I would also really enjoy seeing. Also, after just seeing him in White Lotus season 3, where he was also pretty great as well. Now, moving on to Storm, according to My Time to Shine Hello, Cynthia Erivo is being eyed to play Storm in the MCU. Now, of course, Cynthia Erivo really made a splash last year as Elphaba in Wicked, where she was great, and I'm really excited to see Wicked Part 2. I don't see her as Storm. She's come out and said that she wants to play Storm. I think there are better options, like particularly after seeing Sinners, Jamie Lawson, I think would make a great Storm, and yeah, I really like that idea. Now Hunter Schafer, still is rumored as Mystique, which is, I'm cool with that. These ones here, not rumors, just fan cast, but I just saw this and want to talk about it real quick. Austin Butler as Gambit, I still really like the idea of that. And then I don't even know this actor's name, but I just recognized that he played Roderick in those original Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, and like he has not gotten any substantial work in years, besides having like a 2-second appearance in Oppenheimer, which is so out of the blue but so cool. But him as Nightcrawler, sure, he needs work. More fan casts. Alan Ritchson as Colossus, I think, would be great, and man, John Boyega as Bishop, that'd be pretty nice. And one final fan cast, Matt Wood as Wolverine. I made a whole video about this back in October, I think. He played John Belushi in the Saturday Night Live movie. He was really spectacular in that, and I think he would be again, amazing casting as Wolverine. Now, it is still rumored that Mr. Sinister is going to be the villain of this film. That's been rumored since before they were working on a script, and now, all this time later, it's being said that he is still the villain of this current edition of the script for this film. So yeah, guys, those are some casting rumors for the MCU X-Men. Again, keep in mind, they are not actually casting this movie right now. I don't know when they would actually start. Sounds like maybe once Jake Schreier signs on, that is if he does, but like once they get a director, that they would start pursuing some of these castings. Who knows, maybe we could get some announcements at Comic-Con this year, because like if they already have a script and everything, like this is a movie that could go into production fairly soon, especially like if it's not like these characters are going to appear in the Avengers movies. Like if it's its own separate thing, they can get going anytime pretty much. So I'm really excited about this. Fingers crossed, especially for Patrick Schwarzenegger as Cyclops. I really, really love that idea. But anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about these rumors pertaining to the MCU X-Men? Who do you want to see on the team for a cast of characters, and which actors would you like to see in these iconic roles? So anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I keep up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.